It's 5 o'clock. We're going to go get started. Hey, welcome to Operation Resilience. My name is Jacquelynne, and I'm a certified warrior studies teacher. And today I will be guiding you through an all levels 30-minute class designed for full body stretch, but in a gentle way. So if you'd like, we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. I'm sitting on a pillow. You can sit on a blanket, a block, bolster, pillow. Something that's comfortable, or on the floor if that works for you. And we're just going to do a quick check-in. Bringing awareness into our bodies. Maybe doing a quick mental body scan all the way from the toes up through the crown of the head. And noticing if you're holding tension anywhere. Not trying to change it, we're just noticing. After taking a few breaths to notice where your body is today, maybe focusing on the breath itself. Just noticing the inhales and exhales. Noticing if they're deeper breaths or shallow. The length of the breath. Maybe noticing your body temperature. How your body feels. Does it feel warm and loose and relaxed, or maybe a little bit cool? Maybe stiff in some areas, holding tension. And if you'd like, placing one hand over the chest and one hand over the belly. And starting to lengthen the inhales and the exhales. Deepening the breath. Very gently. It doesn't have to be a drastic change, just a little bit. And feeling your hands move with the breath. Feeling the rib cage expand and the chest lift up on the inhale. The belly expanding on the inhale. The belly relaxing on the exhale. The chest and rib cage lowering on the exhale. Taking a few breaths here and just noticing that movement. Maybe bringing the hands back down to the legs. We're going to inhale, lengthen the spine, pulling the crown of the head up towards the ceiling, engaging the core, protecting that lower back, and keeping this engagement throughout the class. Keeping the shoulders down and back, opening up the chest, pushing that chin back, keeping the ears in line with the shoulders. The back of the neck is nice and long. On an inhale, sweeping the hands up overhead, lengthening the spine a little bit more, reaching, and exhale, bringing the hands back down. And inhale, bring the hands up, maybe rotating the wrists in one direction on the way up. And exhale, rotating the opposite direction on the way down. Inhaling up. And exhaling back down, keeping that core engagement. Inhaling up, pushing the chin back to keep those ears in line with the shoulders. And after a few times, bring the hands back to the legs. Take a quick pause here. I'm going to meet you on the mat. We're coming into all fours of the tabletop, so if you need some support, maybe grabbing a blanket. Just support the knees. Maybe a pillow if you need a little bit more. Pressing in through the tops of the feet. If this is uncomfortable for your ankles, maybe grabbing a rolled up blanket and sliding that under them. Again, pushing in through the tops of the feet, tops of the shins. Knees are about hip width apart. The hands are shoulder width apart, pressing in through the palm of the hand and through all the fingers. Squeezing those shoulder blades down and back, keeping the core engaged for a flat back here. Inhale, lengthening the spine, pulling the crown of the head towards the front of the mat and the hips towards the back. Taking an exhale, gently pulling those hips towards the heels very gently. And inhale, coming back to center. Exhale, pulling those hips back again, warming up the spine little by little. Inhale, coming back up. Exhale, pulling those hips back, maybe a little bit more, feeling the stretch in the spine. Inhale, coming back. We're going to cycle through cat-cow. So here we're going to inhale, dropping the belly, squeezing those shoulder blades together and tilting the hips. And exhale, arching the back and separating those shoulder blades and tucking the tailbone. Inhale, dropping the belly, squeezing the shoulder blades. And exhale, arching that back and tucking the tailbone. And cycling through this a few times on your own breath. Warming up the spine. Creating some more movement. After a few rounds of this, coming back to center on an inhale. Maybe moving those hips in a circular motion. Just warming up the back still. This direction here. And pausing and then switching directions. After a few times, we're going to inhale, come back to center. Take an exhale, pulling those hips back towards child's pose again. Inhale, coming back up. Exhale, pulling the hips back, maybe a little further this time. Inhale, coming back to center. Exhale, pulling back. We're going to hold here for a few breaths, coming into child's pose as far as you'd like. If you need some more support, placing a pillow under the hips, on top of the heels, before bringing those hips back. For more active child's pose, reaching those hands out, keeping the elbows up off the mat. For more relaxed child's pose, maybe bringing those elbows to the floor. If you'd like, grabbing maybe a blanket or a block to place under the forehead. We're going to hold here for a few breaths. You also have an option for a wide-legged child's pose, taking the knees to the outside edges of the mat, giving a little more space for the belly. We're pausing here for a few breaths. Noticing the rib cage expanding on the inhale and how it feels different than when you're sitting and breathing. After a few rounds of breath, if you're in a wide-legged child's pose, bringing those knees back to center. Inhale, coming back up to all fours. Maybe moving some props if you need to. We're going to come to our modified mountain pose. Standing on our knees here. We're going to roll the shoulder blades up and back, opening up the chest. Fingertips are pulling down. Palms are facing forward in. Tailbone is tucked. Our core is engaged here. Chin is pushing back to keep the ears in line with the shoulders. We're going to bring that left leg forward. Keeping the core engaged, keeping the chest open. Maybe having some blocks nearby if you'd like some balance support. Maybe grabbing a wall if it's nearby or a chair. Inhale, lifting the crown of the head, opening up the chest, and gently pushing those hips forward. We're keeping our core engaged here. We don't want to drop the belly. We're trying to keep it nice and tight. Protect that lower back. Maybe feeling a stretch in the front of this leg here. Then exhale, folding over the front leg. This leg can be bent or straight, whatever you need. Inhale, coming back up, pushing those hips very gently forward. And exhale, folding over the front leg. Inhale, coming up, pushing those hips forward gently. And exhale, folding over the front leg, keeping the chest open. Inhaling up, pushing those hips forward. We're going to hold here for a few breaths. Lifting the crown of the head, pushing the chin back, keeping the ears in line with the shoulders. Core is engaged. Breathing here. On an exhale, very gently start to push the hips back to release the stretch. We're going to fold forward over this front leg. Maybe grabbing some blocks for support and balance. The leg can be bent straight. You can play with pointing or flexing the toes. We're going to hold here for a few breaths. Trying to keep that core engaged and the chest open while we fold. Remembering to breathe here. Try to keep the ears in line with the shoulders. Inhale, very slowly coming out of the stretch. Maybe bringing that foot back. Keeping the block nearby. We're going to reach that front leg out to the side. Start walking it back. If you're here, that's fine if this is comfortable. You can stay there. Maybe walk it out to the side. Straightening it. Toes can be pointing whichever direction is comfortable for you to hold for a little bit. If it gets uncomfortable, you can move it. You're not stuck in one spot there. You take an inhale, lifting the crown of the head, opening up the chest. Exhale, reaching that right arm up, leaning over the outstretched leg. Inhale, coming back to center. Exhale, reaching over, noticing where you feel this stretch. Inhaling back to center. Exhale, reaching. Inhaling center. Exhale, we're going to hold here for a few breaths. You can stay where you are with the hand on the hip. Maybe bring it down to the thigh or all the way down to the shin. We are avoiding the knee area here. So maybe grabbing a block if that's what you need. You can hold here if this feels like a good stretch. Maybe in the leg, maybe in the side body. Or maybe cycling through a few rounds of dynamic movement with the breath. Taking an inhale, opening up the chest, facing the ceiling. And exhale, turning to face the mat. Inhaling, opening to the ceiling. Exhale, opening up towards the mat. Maybe holding in one of these positions. Noticing how the stretch changes as you move. Maybe you're holding tension somewhere and you didn't notice it. Feel free to hold in that spot. And remembering to breathe in whichever pose you're in. On an inhale, turning the chest towards the front. Coming all the way back up. We're gonna bring that left leg back in to meet the right. Either coming into modified mountain pose, pausing here, or if you'd like, pulling those hips back. Just coming into hero's pose. If you'd like, again, grabbing a pillow under the hips. Some support. We're just gonna pause, maybe softening the gaze. We're closing the eyes here. Doing a quick check-in. You can only stretch one side. Just noticing how the sides feel different. Noticing the pace of your breath, your body temperature, the depth of the breath. If you're in hero's pose, coming back up to a modified mountain pose. We're gonna bring that right leg forward. Again, maybe having those blocks nearby if you need them. Inhale, bring the hands to the hips, opening up the chest, lengthening spine, engaging that core, and pushing those hips forward gently. Again, we're keeping the core engaged. We're not trying to drop the belly. And then exhale, keeping the chest open, folding over the front leg. Inhale, coming back up, pushing those hips forward. And exhale, folding over the front leg, keeping that leg bent or straight. Inhale, coming up, gently pushing those hips forward. Ears are in line with the shoulders. And exhale, folding over the front leg. Inhale, coming up, keeping the chest open, the core is engaged. We're gonna hold here for a few breaths. Lengthening the spine. Breathing. Ears are in line with the shoulders. Chest is open, shoulders are down and back. On an exhale, very gently push those hips back, coming out of the stretch and starting to fold over that front leg. Again, we're holding here for a few breaths. Trying to keep the chest open as we fold. Maybe playing with bending and straightening the leg, pointing and flexing the toes. And breathing here. Our ears are still in line with our shoulders. On an inhale, very slowly coming back up. And then we're gonna walk the right leg out to the side, pausing it wherever you would like. If you're reaching it all the way out to the side, the toes can be pointed in whichever direction is comfortable for you to hold. Again, you don't have to stay in that pose if it starts getting uncomfortable. Maybe having a block for support nearby. Inhale, opening up the chest, tucking that tailbone. Exhale, reaching that left arm up and over. Inhale, coming back to center. Exhale, reaching over. Inhaling, center. And exhale, reaching. Inhaling back to center. We're going to hold this next one for a few breaths. So taking an exhale, reaching over. This lower hand can stay on the hip, come to the thigh, come down to the shin, avoiding the knee area. So maybe grabbing a block. Keeping the tailbone tucked here. Maybe pausing here in this pose if this stretch feels good. Or maybe if you would like some movement, taking an inhale, turning and opening up the chest towards the ceiling. Exhale, turning the chest towards the floor. Inhale, opening up towards the ceiling. Exhale, opening up to the floor. Again, pausing in any spot that may be holding more tension or that you just need to give a little more attention today. Wherever you are, remembering to breathe. On an inhale, bring that chest back to face the center, coming all the way up. Walking the outstretched leg in. Again, either coming into a modified mountain pose or sitting back in a hero pose. Maybe softening the gaze or closing the eyes. We're going to do another quick check-in. Now that we've stretched both sides, just noticing how the different sides feel. Maybe one side is still holding more tension than another. Maybe one side felt more relaxed than the other. And again, coming back to the breath. Just noticing the length of the breath, the depth of the breath, the pace, maybe the body temperature. From here, we're going to come to lying on our back. Coming through a supine twist. Rolling down, bringing the knees to about a 90-degree angle. Arms are either out in a T or cactus arms. Taking an exhale, lowering the knees to the right side. Inhale, bring them back to center. Exhale, dropping them over to the left. Inhaling center. Exhaling right. Inhaling center. Exhaling left. Inhaling center. Exhaling right. Inhaling center. Exhaling left. Inhaling center. Exhaling right. We're going to hold this one for a few breaths. Trying to keep those hips stacked. So if your shoulder comes off the ground, that's fine. And relaxing into the pose, whatever that may look like for you. We're going to hold this for a few breaths. A little bit longer than most poses. And if you need to adjust at any point, go ahead and do that. Remembering to breathe here. Noticing the rib cage expanding on the inhale. And relaxing on the exhale. On the next inhale, drawing the knees up to center. We're going to hold here for a full round of breath, taking an exhale. And inhale. And on the next exhale, lowering the legs to the left side. Again, relaxing into the pose, whatever that looks like for you. Again, we're trying to keep these hips stacked, so it's perfectly fine if your shoulder comes up off the ground. And breathing into this pose. Again, coming back to the breath, noticing the rib cage expanding on the inhale, relaxing on the exhale. On the next inhale, drawing the knees back to center, wrapping your arms around those legs, rocking from side to side, giving yourself a nice gentle hug. And we're going to come into our final relaxation here. So grabbing whatever props you want, maybe a blanket or a bolster or pillow under your knees, maybe a blanket over you, covering you, maybe something under your head. Just getting comfortable here. And take a few minutes going through a mental body scan. We're going to start with the toes, the soles of the feet, and the ankles, the shins and the calves, knees, quads, the hamstrings, both hips. Noticing if you're holding any tension in the legs all the way from the toes to the hips. Excuse my assistant. Breathing, releasing any tension you may be holding. Moving up to the fingers, the palms of the hands, the wrists, the forearms, the elbows, the upper arms, both shoulders. Releasing any tension you may be holding in your arms, from the fingertips to the shoulders. Releasing the belly, the lower back, the chest, and the upper back. The neck, the jaw, the cheeks, the nose, the ears, the eyes, the eyebrows, the forehead, and finally the crown of the head. Releasing any tension you may find as you do a mental body scan. And taking a few moments here, feeling the support of the mat, and grounding in through the mat wherever you may be touching it. And focusing on the breath. Whenever you're ready, start to deepen the breath. Lengthen the inhales and exhales, bringing a little more energy back into your body. Maybe wiggling the fingers and toes, moving up to the wrists and the ankles. Maybe reaching the arms up overhead for one last full body stretch. Stretching all the way from the fingers to the toes. And taking an exhale, drawing knees into the chest, giving yourself one last hug for this class. Maybe rocking from side to side, releasing that lower back. And whenever you're ready, rolling onto the right side, using your arm as a pillow. Taking a few breaths here. And very gently, with the head coming up very last, using as little effort as possible, pushing yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Thank you all for joining me. And thank you for joining me as a part of Operation Remote Resilience. And please consider visiting the link below to make a donation, ensuring the continued accessibility of resources like these. And supporters like you make it possible for Warriors at Ease teachers like me to continue to serve those who serve. This is Jacquelynne signing off of Operation Remote Resilience.